Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Nurani binti Syamsuddin and I will start with the introduction of accountability in new public management. So let me move to the first part, which is introductions. So according to Drishler 2005, the new public management approach was an evolution of the administrative policies and financial management by converting private sector best practice in running the administration to be more efficiency, effectiveness, and accountability in administrative and financial management. So, through expanding on the privatization rule, we strengthen the public sector administration, according to CH7 2007. So, they have a few of private best practice be used in the new public management, such as a total quality management (TQM), quality control circle (QCC), Malaysia Incorporated Policy, Client Charter, ISO 9000 Quality Management Standard, that related to the KPI, which is key performance indicator. So, ISO 9000 Quality Management Standard is a mechanism that embraces of the performance-based pay system and key performance indicator (KPI) that we will discuss more after this, in order to improve the administrative process and public delivery service system in Malaysia. Public service organization. So thus it also require the high accountability of the public officer to ensure the mechanism will functioning well in achieving the goals stipulated by the governments and administrative.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nur Shahila Jaafar. I will explain the concept and its relevance to NPM. The first concept is the concept of accountability in the public sector. Accountability in the public sector relates with the hierarchical that include principle and act as an agent between government and citizen. It was said by John St. and Horton, 2009. Accountability is essential because the citizens have given their consent and allow the government organization to govern on their behalf by carrying out its function. The powers of government should not exceed, and the agency should be accountable with their duty to serve the citizen. For example, elected councillors are agents for the citizen that elected them, and local government managers are agents for the councillors. The absence of accountability affected the operations of government and bureaucracy, potentially in the conditions of corruption. The second concept is the concept of accountability in traditional public administration. In traditional public administration, accountability is viewed through the aspect of political and democratic accountability. In cases like this, government officials and employees are held accountable to the general population via the popular vote. It can be explained that the civil servants are accountable to the citizens by the politicians that they serve. Basically, traditional public administration models of accountability focus on the mistakes rather than showing an achievement. For example, administrators and politicians are always required to follow the path of least resistance, which is to choose the effortless way in implementing a certain project or policy to avoid any mistake throughout the process. In this regard, the hesitance can emerge among the public officials that their unwillingness will be vulnerable since avoiding is their primary focus. It means that accountability can block the management and open organization into difficult pressure. As a result, it will encourage risk-averse behavior of the public officials, and in fact, it can be affected in a slower form of public management. Next, the concept of accountability in new public management. Accountability in new public management model, the managers refers as public officials switch their focus towards enhancing the relationship between the government and the citizen as opposed to the previous model which focused more on developing hierarchical process of accountability. It views citizens as customers. Meanwhile, public officials should ensure that they need to be accountable that these customers are satisfied with the service delivered. The outcome of a policy and output of the project has been highlighted in order to achieve a greater result of the public service delivery and operation system. For example, bureaucracy of accountability was shifted a step ahead near the citizens and become evaluators for public agencies. New public management models also highlight on the performance accountability, whereby the performance measurement require the implementations of the policies that encourage actions as compared to complacency. As a result, government predilections provide betterment in establishing new project and policy with a main focus to help the public satisfied with the government services and enjoying good governance. The next concept is a performance measurement and accountability. The public sector can carry excellence accountability when the performance measurement system is judicially used due to their performance can be greater communicated in order for the stakeholder to have a better understanding of the service and performance of the agency. It was said by Bolton 2003. This can be further explained when accountability is necessary towards openness, information, transparency, and the agreement of responsibility for one's action. The performance information collected systematically as evidence delivered by performance measurement system. Significantly, it is for the purpose of the promotions of accountability in the public sector that has been widely emphasized. It is literally impossible to achieve effective accountability when accurate information of local authority performance is not being measured clearly. Therefore, the concept of performance measurement and the concept of accountability indeed play a vital role in the whole of democratic process that assists in providing useful input and serve as the foundation for internal and external accountability of the government. The last concept is the concept of KPI in Malaysia public sector practice. One of the initiatives made by the government to show the result of accountability is Key Performance Indicator KPI that focus on empowering the accountability in NPM agenda. It used performance management as a fundamental strategy. KPIs are viewed as one of the methods for strengthening the public sector institutional and implementation capacity, which is one of the 9 Malaysia Plan's strategic priorities, said by Khalid 2008. KPI act as a tool for monitoring the level of achievement of performance and delivering measurement along with the key success factors in the systematic manners. KPI also were adopted to improve the civil servant performance in accordance with the government initiative to improve public service delivery system, as well as to provide assurance that the elements of integrity and good governance are being followed. Therefore, effective performance measurement is important for ensuring that the organization's services and the quality meet the needs of its customers and general public. With all the concepts mentioned above, it was interrelated as a system of performance in new public management reformation, which is KPI help government agency and department to meet their goal by providing a well-defined performance target and expectation, as well as enable on identifying the problem immediately and effectively. Hence, it can be stated that this kind of performance evaluation system is used not only in the private sector but also at a national level to ensure that the government service delivery system continues to improve in accordance with the goals of increasing accountability while improving efficiency and detecting potential areas for future improvement.
What are symptoms? Symptoms can be defined as an indicator before something actually happens. In this context, it will be the symptoms that will be shown before an accountability issue occurs. The first symptom is failure in administration. It can be defined as the failure to achieve the desired goal that had been set within an administration, and in this context, it is the goals, mission, and vision as well as the objectives of the public sector. Failure in the public sector could be divided into 4 types, which are marketplace failure, service failure, institutional failure, and customer satisfaction failure. So therefore, there is no doubt that this first symptom could occur through many different ways. For instance, it is due to the lack of resources that can be utilized by the public servants for their consumers. So not to mention, failure of administration can also lead to issues like failure of communication and hiring the wrong person for the wrong position. The first issue that portrays failure in administration can be observed through the insufficient healthcare resources, especially hospitals and clinics in Sabah and Sarawak. There are plenty of incomplete hospital and clinic projects in Sabah and Sarawak which further showcases its failure of administration. This is because actually more healthcare facilities are urgently needed as the number of patients are exceeding the number of hospitals that are available. Not to mention also the number of medical officers that are decreasing day by day as more of them have decided to go overseas.
Assalamualaikum Puan, nama saya Hani Zafira binti Osman. Saya dari UiTM Serban 3. Saya menemu ramah Puan boleh?
Boleh.
Okey. Saya ada beberapa soalan. Soalan nombor satu saya adalah, apakah pengalaman Puan dalam bidang pekerjaan Puan?
Okey, saya perkenalkan diri saya dulu lah ya. Nama saya Puan Hajar Rozia binti Sino. Saya jawatan saya sebagai Ketua Jururawat di Klinik Kesihatan Kahang Timur. Lepas tu saya bekerja dah hampir 30 tahun lah. Tapi jawatan sebagai jururawat ni dah hampir 6 tahun. Sekarang ni di bahagian unit ibu dan anak.
Okey, baik.
Ibu dan anak di klinik kesihatan ni.
Soalan nombor 2, apakah Puan mengetahui dan sedia maklum tentang KPI seorang penjawat awam di bidang pekerjaan Puan?
Tahu? Ya, saya tahu.
Sejak bila KPI dijalankan dalam bidang Puan?
2017.
Okey, baik Puan. Jadi pekerja kat sini tahu KPI tu dari mana Puan?
Dari arahan jabatan. Surat arahan dari jabatan.
Okey, baik Puan. Soalan seterusnya, apakah pengalaman Puan dalam mencapai KPI yang ditetapkan dalam bidang kesihatan?
KPI dalam bidang kesihatan di unit ibu dan anak ni dalam kedatangan ibu mengandung, kita kena capai target lah dalam setahun dalam 98%, atau kedatangan kanak-kanak 0 hingga 1 tahun, 1 hingga 4 tahun, kedatangan mestilah melebihi 98%. Dan juga kedatangan perancang keluarga dan mengelakkan daripada menghindarkan daripada kematian bayi dan kecacatan, itulah.
Untuk soalan last saya, boleh saya tahu adakah Puan pernah dapat penghargaan atau imbuhan bagi pekerja kesihatan setelah mencapai KPI yang ditetapkan?
Saya pernah mendapat anugerah cemerlang pada tahun 2022 sebagai inilah capai kerana orang pekerja yang proaktif, inovatif dan boleh mencapai target lah.
Baik Puan. Soalan yang last sekali, bagi Puan, adakah KPI dalam Kementerian Kesihatan ni adil ataupun agak susah dicapai atau bagaimana? Ataupun semuanya adalah baik-baik?
Okey, sebenarnya KPI ni adalah untuk menuju KKM ni menuju untuk kesejahteraan masyarakat, ibu dan anak, untuk kesihatan ibu dan anak, membabitkan nyawa bayi. Jadi saya rasa memang KPI itu memang wajarlah untuk diteruskan.
Okey, baik Puan. Terima kasih Puan.
Sama-sama.
The second symptom is high turnover rate. A turnover is caused by an employee, and it can be defined as the amount of employees that will be leaving an organization during a certain period of time. However, the symptom that is being shown here is when the number of employees leaving is exceptionally high, which indicates that employee retention is low. High turnover rates can cause many negative implications with any organization. So for instance, the amount of resources that are actually required to hire and gather new staff, as well as the productivity and morale of the remaining employees would decrease. Therefore, when there is low productivity caused by the high turnover rates, the key performance indicator, the KPI of an organization, would not be reached. The first issue that portrays high turnover rate is caused by the public servants in New Zealand, and it was mainly due to the constraints in the salary that they are receiving by the government. It was recorded that the turnover has reached a new high, which is 17.3% in the year of 2021-2022, as compared to 10.5% and 11.8% in 2020 and 2019 respectively. Nonetheless, the constraints of pay were made even worse with a heavy amount of workload, intensive working hours which had caused burnout, as well as the current living costs in New Zealand, therefore causing the government to actually lose more of its people, as there are many more opportunities in the private sector. The second issue is the high turnover rates in the United States of America. Based on the article published in 2019, the percentage of turnover rates within the public sector has reached 18.3% in 2017 as compared to 14.6% in 2008. Several reasons why the turnover rate of public servants were high was due to salary and prospect advancements, the work environment and conditions, as well as changes in jobs. The last issue is related to the healthcare sector in Malaysia. It can be argued that there are intentions of public servants working in the health industry wanting to leave the public sector. The MOH employees that show high inclination towards leaving their current position are the medical specialists, pharmacists, and dentists. The reason for this is because there are many better opportunities that were being offered in the private sector, and this was actually especially coming from the pharmacists and dentists, as they claim that they are not satisfied with the job in the public sector. Hence, the public sector should actually equip themselves with better standards to ensure the retention of their employees and to reach their
Okay, thank you, Farha. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Najiha binti Johari. So, next, I will explain about the third symptoms or indication of lack of accountability, which is the prevalence of corruption. So, public sector corruption refers to the exploitation or abuse of entrusted power that comes to a public official for his or her own personal interest. So, public sector corruption is often seen in various forms such as embezzlement, fraud, cronyism, money laundering, infrastructure and procurement project, leveraging and other concession at a low level in the law enforcement. So the public sector corruption issue is a very important issue, especially in the context of implementing, monitoring and evaluating development projects. Due to the corrupt activities could be happening stimulously, direct increase in quality, decrease the popular accountability, political responsiveness, decrease the efficiency, and also the accountability of service provisions. So the first example issue, which is there is a corruption linked to the government project failure in Ghana. So corruption can be seen in many forms, including bribery, embezzlement, kickback, nepotism, personal gain, and abuse of position. So corruption in Ghana happened due to weak institutional framework, lack of transparency and accountability, and the cultural factors such as tribalism and also the nepotism. Corruption may have impact on the failure of government project in Ghana that leads to stakeholder dissatisfaction, requirement deviation, cost overruns, abandonment, delay in the project implementation, and slowing down the development of the sector in which government projects are carried out, as well as the overall developments of the country. So the second issue, we can see that in Malaysia context, one of the largest corruption scandals globally involved the former Prime Minister of Malaysia, which is Datuk Seri Najib Razak, and the One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB affair. In this instance, $700 million amount to 2.567 billion ringgit were either channeled through or discovered in the bank account of the Prime Minister shortly before the 2013 election. So this case also involved the embezzlement of $4.5 billion was stolen. So he was also accused of being used to pay for his credit card bills, politician, and his wife extravagant shopping sprees. So the case sparked extensive criticism from the Malaysian society as a whole. So therefore, we can demonstrate that the corruption is one of the symptoms that lead to lack of accountability. If the pervasive problem of corruption in the public sector is not contained, it will undermine of public trust in the government institution, damage policy integrity, and also distort the public sector outcomes. So it will also negatively impact the government's or public servant performance and create a self-perpetuating organizational culture of corruption. So thank you. So we'll pass to the next presenter.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Hani Zafira Osman, and I will explain on the factor of not accountable in achieving KPI. So the first factor we can see here is insufficient resources. So insufficient resources usually means a lack of resources translate into a lack of money, people or time.
To be more detailed, the most common insufficient resources are limited budget, which means the funds are not enough for the organizations to have a proper working environment. Other than that, lack of skilled personnel is the reason of insufficient resources. When there is a lack of experienced and qualified employees, by that more budget needed to be put on training. So, the third common insufficient resources are lack of technological infrastructure. Unavailable supplies of required tools, mostly in technological infrastructure, can cause of slow progress and non-efficiency. For example, this is based on my interview at Klinik Kesihatan Rendah Hang Timur. The patient history and the information are handwritten. So for the doctors and the nurses that want to find the patient history, they need to wait for a while the PPK, pegawai kesihatan, find the history. We move on to the second factor of not accountable in achieving KPI is lack of monitoring from the government. So, lack of monitoring in organization will cause problems to the organization. For example, low employee motivations, lack of work culture, and also conflict between the employees. So, the organization should determine these kinds of surveillance and monitoring that will take place at work and educate themselves on the limited associated with each kind. So here, we will go through the different kinds of monitoring in more detail. The first type of monitoring is video monitoring. It is primarily uses involve keeping an eye on all of the workplace activity, employees' work habit, and using CCTV camera recording to preventive damage or even a violence. So, the next types of monitoring is email monitoring. It is important for employees to know that their official email addresses are not for personal uses and that administrators have full access to them. Last but not least, the third types of monitoring is key cards. So key cards are used by organizations to keep a close eye on every employee that enter their buildings or office. Lastly, we have here is the third factor of not accountable in achieving KPI is absence in applications of law. So lack of accountability in achieving KPI, it can be because of absence of application of law in organizations. Therefore, the corruption is increased and the employees are not accountable in achieving their KPI. So corruptions in the workplace can apply to practices like extortions, fraud, embezzlements, and even bribery. So both of the public and private sector are susceptible to workplace corruptions, which affect staff member, supervisor, and even senior executive. For instance, in healthcare department, the KPI of the organizations need to maintain the average patient's wait time. Alright, so but this KPI can't be achieved because there are lack of doctors in the hospital, and it is because of the government capital that are supposed to hire new doctor but being stolen by the higher manager for their own personal interest. With all of these corrupted actions, it can cause harm to the employee and decision making of the organization. So that's all from me. I will pass to my next mate. Thank you.
Thank you, Hanis. Alright, so I will continue to present the ways on how to address the issue or problem that occurs when there is no accountability in achieving KPI, which is a key performance indicator. So there are 4 ways that we have discovered based on our research. So firstly, reviewing back the indicators that used to measure the key performance indicator, which is KPI, is a way of addressing issues of accountability in KPI. It involves taking a second look at the chosen indicators to ensure that they accurately reflect progress and success toward the established goals. This process helps in maintaining transparency, improving accountability, and also ensuring that the selected indicators are meaningful and align with the overall objectives. So, when organizations or governments regularly assess whether the indicators truly represent their achievements, it acts as a form of self-checks. If adjustment they needed to better align the indicators with the actual goals, they can be made. So this ensures that the KPIs remain relevant and provide an accurate reflections of the organization's performance. Imagine that a government sets a KPI related to the reducing unemployment. So if upon review, they found that the chosen indicators don't fully capture the employment situation, they might modify them to include additional factors like the quality of jobs or wage levels. So by doing this, they enhance the accountability of their KPIs and improve the accuracy of the information they provide to the public. Alright, so secondly, including public engagement is a way of addressing issues of accountability in key performance indicator, which is KPI. Involving the public in the KPI process enhances transparency, fosters accountability, and also ensures that the performance metrics are aligned with the public expectation. So when the public is engaged in the KPI process, it creates a mechanism for accountability. So the public engagements allow citizens to be informed about the goals and the progress of an organization, and it provides them with an opportunity to voice out their opinion. So this participatory approach helps in holding organization accountable for their performance and also their decision-making processes. So consider a government initiative focused on environmental sustainability with KPIs that related to reducing carbon emissions. So by engaging with the public through the town hall meeting, online forums, and also the survey, the government not only keeps the citizen to be informed but also gathers the feedback. So if the public expresses concern about the certain aspect that not covered by the existing KPI, the government can adjust its indicators to better reflect the environmental impact. So it will addressing the issues of not accountability. So thirdly, disclosing KPI results to the public is a way of addressing issues of accountability in key performance indicator, which is KPI. So making KPI results accessible to the public promotes transparency, builds trust, and also holds organization accountable for their performance. So when KPI results are disclosed to the public, it ensures the openness and allows the stakeholders, including the public, to access how well an organization is meeting its goal. So this transparency creates a form of external accountability, as the organization is subject to scrutiny by the public, which can lead to improved performance and also their decision making. So imagine a government agency implementing a KPI that related to improving healthcare services. So by regularly publishing reports on healthcare outcomes, patient satisfaction, and other relevant metrics, the agency demonstrates the accountability to the public. So if the disclosed result shows areas that need improvements, the public can advocate for changes and the agency can respond accordingly, so thereby addressing accountability issues. And lastly, legislation and regulation can be a way of addressing issues of accountability in key performance indicators, which is KPI. This can be seen as some of the countries enact specific laws or regulation that mandate organizations, especially public entities, to regularly report their KPIs result. So this legal framework establishes clear expectation for transparency and accountability in performance measurement by legally requiring organizations to disclose their KPIs result. The lawmakers aim to ensure that these entities are accountable to the public and stakeholders. So, for example, United States, their initiatives was implementing the Government Performance and Result Act, which is GPRA. So the United States enacted the Government's Performance and Results Act, GPRA, in 1993. So this legislation requires federal agencies to develop strategic plans with measurable performance goals, so including key performance indicators. Agency must regularly report their performance against these KPIs to Congress and the public. So the GPRA establishes a framework for accountability by ensuring that government agencies are transparent about their objectives, progress, and also their outcomes. So the non-compliance with GPRA reporting requirement can result in consequences, reinforcing the importance of accountability in achieving government goals. So in this example, the GPRA serves as a legislative tool to hold federal agencies accountable for their performance through the transparent reporting of KPIs. So that's all from me, and I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
In summarizing all of the discussion, from the discussion we identify that the utilization of a new public management approach in public administration is still in the phase of unconditional. Moreover, the key performance indicator applied also still lacking in derive to the efficiency and effectiveness of the public sector delivering service, because from the symptom and the factor of the issue that we showing in discussions, KPI are not fully guaranteed the transparency in a public service delivery system, because the improper of rules and standard, as example, still will lead to KPI to increasing the inaccountability of the agency and also officer itself. The higher accountability practice is a very important to the be applied in new public management, because it is shaping the NPM as a module approach that bring a significant value to the administration and also management of public service delivery system. Besides, also we developing the good of public officer in the future.